the coronavirus pandemic has been catastrophic for micro and small enterprises. They have lost businesses at a shuttering rate compared to large businesses. Now, such businesses tend to have their capital tied up in inventory, much of which is purchased on a credit, and they also depend on regular turnover to maintain profitability. Well, according to the International Trade Center's 2021 SME Competitiveness Outlook, MSMEs have suffered the most from the pandemic. 60% of micro and 57% of small businesses have been strongly affected. That's compared to 43% of large firms. The report recommends that one way to build MSMEs' resilience against shocks is to embrace the possibilities offered by digitization and, of course, prioritize inclusiveness for sustainable growth. Well, let's find out more about a program that is doing just that. We're joined by Jane Delcer. She's a principal consultant at BFA Global. Welcome to the show, Jane. Great to have you with us today. Now, of course, let's start off with your thoughts on how digital commerce companies, which is what you guys are doing, digital commerce companies are helping MSMEs remain resilient and grow going forward, especially after the impact of the pandemic. How can these companies tap into digitization?
Thank you, Mrs. Okoronko. Thank you for having me. So in our work at the Catalyst Fund Inclusive Digital Commerce Accelerator, we saw that through our research, MSCs were faring better when they started to adopt digital means to do their business. This could look like taking on digital transactions or moving to e-commerce platforms in order to keep selling despite pandemic lockdowns or any stoppages. They were also accessing digital financial services such as loans to be able to keep their inventory stocked, like businesses need to do. And so the digital commerce companies that we're working with through the Catalyst Fund Inclusive Digital Commerce Accelerator, they're at the front lines of these emerging ecosystems that are using digital and digitizing, that are growing as e-commerce markets, for example. And these companies are really expanding the reach and the utility of digital products and solutions for SMEs, and especially for the smaller of SMEs, the micro enterprises that tend to be more informal and less connected to digital ecosystems. So our work at the Accelerator is really about helping those companies reach those customers and help them improve their livelihoods and resilience through digital commerce by staying connected to markets, by being able to access digital services such as financial services, and leveraging the benefits of digital commerce.
Well, can you give us any more insight into the specific solutions that the program provides these MSMEs?
Absolutely. So the Digital Commerce Accelerator is a program that we launched a year ago with the support of MasterCard Foundation. And through this accelerator, we're aiming to bring 25,000 new informal MSEs into digital commerce through the companies we're working with. And in order to do this, we're providing 6 growth stage companies in Ghana with flexible grant capital. So we award them up to $120,000 in grants. We also provide bespoke venture acceleration support. And what that means is that we work with the companies directly, addressing any of the barriers or challenges they have to growth with our specialists, which is a team of industry experts in design, technology, product development, finance, you name it, whatever a startup needs in order to be able to expand and really get to the place that they are in a position for growth. And then we also provide them on the ground support through MEST, our country partner, which is a program in Africa that works with early stage companies. And we also provide them with connections to ecosystem players across the digital commerce value chain to help them scale and reach more informal MSEs.
Now, of course, digitization is just picking up now in Africa, especially following the pandemic. And you mentioned the ecosystem as a whole. So give us some insight into how you're not just supporting these SMEs, but also accelerating the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, and that's a great question. Oftentimes we focus so much on the entrepreneur, the innovator, but because we're working at innovation in the early stage, we also need to support the ecosystem in which these innovative companies operate, which have their challenges and their restrictions. So we help the companies grow as an organization that's reaching a market and succeeding with their customers through the venture acceleration support. But we also foster that ecosystem by helping to build the partnerships and coordination across the digital commerce value chain so that they are operating in conditions where they can expand and enabling ecosystem. And what this looks like, it looks like engaging investors and corporates such as FMCGs, distributors, fintech companies and financial institutions, logistics providers, trade organizations, in exploring and facilitating partnerships to help make digital commerce as a customer experience much more seamless and much more compelling as a value proposition. And so in turn, that kind of enabling ecosystem should also promote the uptake of the digital commerce offering by these companies.
Now, it's interesting. You say you've been able to raise over 4 times the average amount that startups in Africa are able to raise. So given that financing is usually a major setback for these companies, how much has the program raised so far, and why do you think you've been able to raise this much?
Sure. Our flagship program, Catalyst Fund, it focuses on supporting tech innovators in emerging markets. It's operated by BFA Global, a consultancy in financial and digital innovation in emerging markets, and supported with the support of FCDO, JP Morgan Chase & Co., and Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors. So the digital commerce program is an expansion of this flagship program. And we've been successfully running this program for almost 6 years through this model, with over 55 companies across 14 markets. And what we see across our Catalyst Fund portfolio of companies is that for every dollar spent in our program, the companies on average have raised $44. So the ROI on that is more like 40x. So the model's working, right? We're seeing that this is making really an impact to the companies. We're seeing adoption, we're seeing growth, but we also see this in terms of the larger ecosystem. To date, we've raised $240 million across the portfolio. Companies have seen employee growth at about 126%. We have 93 investors in our circle that we can connect our companies to. And 86 of the companies we've worked with today are surviving or have been acquired. And in total, we've reached about 6.6 low-income customers. So we really see that this is a model that requires a lot of work and investment in the companies, but the impact of it is quite outsized.
All right. Well, we'll certainly like to learn more about this project, but of course we do have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today, Jane. That, of course, was Jane Delser, Principal Consultant at BFA Group.